The poverty rate, according to the Census Bureau, is 11%, isn't it, in America?
I'll take it. I'll take your word, Senator.
And that's the Census Bureau defines poverty, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that the Census Bureau, in defining poverty and determining that our poverty rate is 11%, or 36 million Americans, which makes us look bad, only will consider direct cash payments from the federal government to poor people, such as, let's say, SSI payments or TANF payments?
Correct.
Today, I'm breaking down a heated Senate Banking Committee exchange where Senator John Kennedy questioned the Treasury Secretary on everything from disaster tax extensions to tariffs and the real meaning behind America's poverty statistics. This wasn't just another political hearing. It touched on trade policy, economic reality, and how government numbers shape public perception. Stick with me because some of the claims made during this discussion might completely change how you view official poverty data and government benefits. Let's get into it.
Senator Kennedy.
Hello, Mr. Secretary. I'm over here. How are you?
Good.
Mr. Secretary, as you're also head of the IRS, we've had some tough ice storms. Would you and your colleagues consider an extension on allowing extension to allow people to file taxes a little bit later?
Senator, I've been in touch with the governor of the great state of Louisiana, and he and I and my staff are working on that. It is traditional to grant extensions for events like this.
Good. If Canada came to the United States, well, let me preface this by saying I understand that tariffs have a number of purposes, but the foremost reason for tariffs is to try to stop other countries from taking advantage of us through either their tariffs or trade barriers. If Canada, for example, came to the United States and said, we're going to zero tariffs in the United States, all of them are off on our end, would you, Mr. President, speaking to our president, go to zero tariffs and then just let Canadian companies and American companies compete on a level playing field?
Absolutely not. As we saw last week, when 2 weeks ago, when Prime Minister Carney went to China, he lowered tariffs on Chinese EVs from 100% to 6%. U.S. has a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs. We couldn't let our northern border be used as a way for Chinese EVs to come into the U.S.
Right, okay. I'm going to lead you a little bit because Senator Scott is a she-bear when it comes to time. The poverty rate, according to the Census Bureau, is 11%, isn't it, in America?
I'll take it. I'll take your word, Senator.
And that's the Census Bureau defines poverty, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that the Census Bureau, in defining poverty and determining that our poverty rate is 11%, or 36 million Americans, which makes us look bad, only will consider direct cash payments from the federal government to poor people, such as, let's say, SSI payments or TANF payments?
Correct.
Okay? And isn't it true that the Census Bureau, in determining poverty, doesn't include non-cash payments? It doesn't include Medicaid or food stamps or housing subsidies or refundable tax credits. Isn't that true?
That is correct, Senator.
Yeah. Let me give you an example. Mom, 2 kids, poverty level for her and her kids is $27,000. Mom works part-time. She makes $11,000. According to our Census Bureau, she's poor. She's below the poverty line. But she also receives, she works, I recall I said, makes $11,000 a year. She receives $4,100 in refundable earned income tax credits, $3,400 in refundable child tax credits, which means she gets a check, $9,200 in food stamps, $9,500 in housing subsidies, $900 in utility bill subsidies, $16,000 in Medicaid, $31,000 a year in free school lunches, and $6,000 in TANF payments. If you add that up, that's $64,100 a year.
I start by talking about how the hearing opened with a practical issue: severe ice storms hitting Louisiana. I explained that Senator Kennedy pushed for tax filing extensions for people affected by the disaster. The Treasury Secretary responded that conversations were already happening with state leaders, and that extensions are traditionally granted after major emergencies. I highlight how this moment set a cooperative tone before the conversation moved into more intense economic debates. Next, I shift into the tariff debate. I explain how Kennedy argued tariffs are meant to stop unfair trade practices and protect American industries from foreign competition. Then I walk through the key question: if Canada eliminated all tariffs, should the U.S. do the same? The Secretary's answer was a clear no, pointing to concerns that trade loopholes could allow goods, particularly Chinese electric vehicles, to enter the U.S. indirectly. I break down why this example matters and how global trade relationships complicate simple, free trade ideas. Now I move into one of the most intense parts of the hearing: poverty statistics. I explain that Kennedy cited the Census Bureau's reported poverty rate of around 11%, representing tens of millions of Americans. From there, I discuss his argument that official poverty calculations primarily focus on direct cash income, potentially overlooking the broader picture of government assistance. Here's where the debate got detailed. I walk viewers through the Secretary confirming that many non-cash benefits, including Medicaid, food assistance, housing support, and certain tax credits, are not fully reflected in official poverty measures. I then describe Kennedy's hypothetical example of a single mother whose earned income appears below the poverty line, but whose total benefits significantly increase her effective resources. At this point in the video, I pause and say, if you're finding this breakdown helpful and want more clear, no-nonsense explanations of political hearings and economic policy, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss future videos. I continue by explaining Kennedy's main argument, that excluding non-cash assistance could make poverty rates appear higher than the real living standard experienced by some households. I discuss how he urged the Treasury Secretary to raise the issue with higher officials and consider revisiting how poverty is measured. The exchange ends on a lighter note with humor between the participants, showing that even serious economic debates can close with a bit of levity. I wrap up by reflecting on the bigger takeaway. This hearing wasn't just about numbers. It was about how policy decisions, statistical methods, and political perspectives shape the way Americans understand poverty and economic success. Whether viewers agree or disagree with the arguments, I emphasize the importance of looking beyond headlines and understanding how data is calculated. I close by encouraging viewers to share their thoughts in the comments, especially on whether poverty measurements should include non-cash benefits, and remind them to stay informed because economic policy debates like this directly impact everyday life.